So I'm waiting and waiting for Alex Jones to drop this bomb that is the most incredible thing that's ever happened to him in his journalistic history, and you can't believe it. What happened? Charlie Sheen came on to say they were going to call the White House and demand that there be a truther investigation about 9/11.
That's Alex Jones.
That was gone after that. That was a little peculiar.
But you kept the crush.
But I get it really fast. That's what I do now.
Yeah, Alex Jones has got a great business. There's no question about that. He's entitled to that. I have no problem with that.
Right.
Sometimes I think he hits it out of the park. Sometimes his reporting is sloppy.
Right, exactly.
And I think that should be a warning to all of us as we engage in this effort. We need to have our stuff together. When you go to print, when you go to the web, when you go on the air, when you get to YouTube, make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed, so that no one can say, "What a slacker! You know, you didn't do your research here," because it takes away from the entire message. And that's a problem sometimes I have with Alex.
I 1000% agree. And one of the things, like when Beck came from, because he's a big radio guy, and then the whole CNN thing, and he totally changed his name from Fox, and he is hooked into our stuff, and I think he's lifted a lot of our techniques, which is definitely, and you never know, because I steal from them, and believe me, we all steal from each other, with the whole chalkboard, whatever that is, and that usually. But the point is, with Beck, is, even though I thought he was a little too still radio, you know what I mean, with the over broadcast and everything's sensational, because you can't do that on TV if you're doing that kind of show. You have to kind of modulate it a little bit, at least in my opinion, although his ratings, what do I know, he is $30 million a year, okay. But what I really liked is, even though he was still doing a little bit of the P.T. Barnum, like he said the other day, he is someone that didn't have the academic background. He wasn't steeped in it, law school, Federalist Papers, all that kind of stuff, but he's learned. He's really taken a real liking to it, and as he said the other day, that phone, which is a gimmick, it's a good gimmick, never hasn't ring, because they can't challenge him on the facts. And that's what Brian is saying, get your stuff together. They're the ones that are doing the plagiarizing in the New York Times. They're the ones that have to retract stories, this and that, whatever. Have your facts together. They'll still try to do their little tricks. We talked about the man losing the market, this and that, whatever. But you got to have your facts together. You have to really understand it to be able to communicate it. Because, as Russ says and others say, conservatism is hard. You have to really think about it. You have to know your stuff. It's not easy to explain to someone just off the cuff, oh, hey, here's why you need the Laffer curve and change the tax structure and everything like that. And this is what, right? It's easy to say, you know what? We got to feed those poor people in Rwanda. Geez, dirty Republicans, they're going to put the old people on the street. That's easy. Oh, everyone wants to feed everybody, clothe everybody, snack, whatever. It's not reality. Not today. So, absolutely 100% correct point. Let's talk about this. How to build a show and affect political change with the new media. Because you were talking about the recall effort that you guys did. You guys are doing some hot stuff in Hollywood. How do you use this stuff to make it happen?
Well, I know what the left tries to do to me, and they will sometimes effectively just have a blog swarm to attack me or our station in particular, so that they can intimidate advertisers to go bye-bye. And they've done a pretty darn good job of doing that at times. Sure. And it's a shame because they're able to intimidate these advertisers without the facts. Just with pure intimidation. So how can we do that same thing to force change is the big question, and we can. We need to be extremely clever, we need to use our imagination, and we need to be highly motivated and unrelenting in our efforts. Because the Republic, I think you said this, the Republic, you said something, the Republic's at stake, our country's at stake.
It is.
This is real stuff here.
It is.
It's live or die.
It is.
But you have to think about, we can't have fear and we can't be intimidated by people because they will try to do that. And back in 2008, if everybody recalls, Sean Hannity did a 6-part series on Obama. And
that was good.
the things that everybody should have listened to when they voted about Ayers and Rashid Khalidi and Farrakhan and Reverend Goddamn America and all of, you know.
Where'd that guy go? I mean, he was entertaining.
You know, exactly.
I don't agree with him, but at least he, you know what I mean? If I'm going to be slammed with all that kind of BS, I'd rather have someone entertaining.
He was, Sean Hannity was extremely brave.
Oh yeah,
at that time.
He was the first big one.
Because everyone thought he was nuts.
That's right.
And everybody called him a crackpot, and it was all lies. Well, I knew it wasn't lies, and I knew the truth was a lot worse.
Wow.
And so did you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he was a pioneer, as is Beck and everybody else. Think of where we would be now if we didn't have people who said, I'm going to tell the truth, and I don't care what someone thinks of me. So.
Well,
I think people need to go out and spread the message, have a message, but there is strength in numbers, and we need these numbers in 10 months, because 2010 is it for us.
let me just say something super quick here, because I want you guys to continue with that, but you just hit on something that I know, and I did. And the reason why I did was because I went to law school with these people, right? I had in law school over here at Berkeley and every major university, a lot of times what happens with the sort of the less prestigious universities, they'll prepare you for the bar. Particularly in California, it's the hardest bar in the nation. But at the Stanfords, the Berkeleys, or whatever like that, they figure, hey, the students are smart enough, we can kind of teach some other theory, this and that, whatever. Well, one of the classes that you have to take is property. Real property, because it's on the bar and the whole 9 yards. Well, we had, what students were saying was critical race property. Whereas every crazy little decision about squatters' rights, this and that, whatever, it was turned into a whole different kind of course. We all had to study extra hard to pass the bar, to actually learn property. And the point is that I had, law school professors, I had people that we knew, well, Mr. Gates. Right, Henry Louis Gates, the Harvard professor from the that whole thing, and it was folks that were maybe very left, very militant, maybe minority, that were really hardcore. And don't forget, Barack Obama, Harvard Law Review, Harvard Law School, Chicago law professor. I mean, I've been around these people, and they believe that crazy out there stuff. That's what they believe, and from when you're up high in the academic environment, it all looks good down here for the little people. Until you actually, like the old saying, those that can do, those that can't teach. So you have that kind of thing. The other thing that I saw going on, and I'm not going to name names and stuff, when I went to work at Wilson, I got a great job, basically the best job you could get in my field at Wilson Sonsini Gersh Rosati. Worked under Mario Rosati in the Valley, biggest law firm handling all the technology stuff. I mean, there was, I'm not going to name names, but there's let me take it away from that. There's people that I've encountered in my professional life, and I'm sure we all have, that what I call the Tiger Woods effect. And that's why we came out first and you saw it. We got a lot of heat for that Tiger Woods story. Why are you doing this? This isn't political. What do you do? I don't want this tabloid stuff. Barack Obama got elected in large measure for the Tiger Woods effect. This is a nice African-American guy. Oh, he's golf club. He's cool. He's okay. It's perfect image. And it's all manufactured. And I'm not saying that Tiger Woods is Barack Obama or anything like that. What I'm saying is carefully crafted image. Marketed and sold via Madison Avenue in Hollywood. And so you have some folks, whether it's La Raza, and think about that, because I'm half Hispanic, Villarreal. Dad's family came from Mexico, Monterrey, Mexico, where a lot of Tarahumara, Aztec, Indians. La Raza, what does that mean? The race. What race? I thought we're all part of the human race. You know what I mean? I'm anti any kind of discrimination. We're all Americans. I've strongly pushed against that kind of stuff. But so you have that, or the African American. So what you have is these people that will, maybe on some of the minority side, that will basically, they've gone to the best schools. They had the affirmative action and stuff like that. They've got this big push. And like you're saying, who do we have complain? Kanye West. How much money does that guy have? Oprah Winfrey. How much money does she have? Barack Obama. How much power does he have? Michelle Obama. How much she have? And now she's just proud of her country because she finally got to be First Lady. I mean, where's the discrimination? You know what I'm saying? These people have a lot of power, so what they'll do is they get all the privileges, but they're still mad as hell. They're down with these extreme policies that they've learned in law schools or the elite Ivy League institutions, this and that, whatever. But hey, you know, as I've run into some people, you know, it's like, my little brother likes to say about this about Michael Wilbon, one of the big sports writers, you know, friends with Michael Jordan, he's on ESPN, point out this, that, whatever. Michael Wilbon will talk about how he's got his hood pass, and he's really hard and stuff like that. But he's very, very corporate too. He can do the golf club. So, I mean, I've run into people like that.